We're right back with Taylor Ashton, and here on Country Pocket, we are going to move into, briefly, although we are going to go back to one more song before it's over. We're going to move into the coronavirus portion of the show, because I know that is on everyone's mind right now. I know this sounds completely horrible, but you talk about puns. Me and my dad both work in high school sports, so
Okay.
I had to make the pun that we're not under quarantine yet, but our jobs are under quarantine.
Oh.
I know
Gotcha.
it was bad. It elicited a groan, but I do plenty of awful puns like that. So, in all likelihood, you are listening to two brain-damaged folk music lovers discuss an international pandemic. And this is the source of news you've chosen for some reason. But we're actually going to talk about something slightly serious, which is the economic factor for musicians. And the plain awesomeness factor that you're losing opening for Eva O'Donovan.
Yeah, I mean we had, today's Sunday, so this past 3 or 4 days was meant to be a weekend opening for IFA, and then next weekend, and then a couple weekends later. And yeah, certainly I am bummed out not to be doing that, but it really does not, it feels so much more important to be playing it safe. I think, it's crazy how fast the news and sort of attitudes around this stuff have changed in the last couple of, really just in the last couple of weeks. Like a week ago, I think a lot of us, I remember saying to someone, I'm so curious to see in the future, whether this will all sort of blow over and have seemed like a big overreaction, or whether we're at the start of something big. And I think even now I'm realizing that it's definitely that we're experiencing something really major right now. And so I'm just really impressed with my whole musical community, that like almost everyone I know has kind of, I think it is going to be like you're saying, the economic reality of it for musicians is going to be really, really hard. But I think we're all sort of seeing that it's the right thing to do to not encourage people to gather right now. And to me, I'm just sort of looking at the silver lining that so many of my friends, so many of my people in my community are taking that really seriously. And it's impressive to see people be very really heed the words of epidemiologists and health professionals, and not kind of treat this we still got to get together and be together in this time of crisis, but really, noticing that this is a different type of thing that requires a different type of response. And of course, it's crazy to be recording an interview about this, because I'm sure in a week we're going to know so much more than we do today, which, for anybody listening to this later than today, it's the 15th, of March.
Oh, they'll be listening to this on the 16th. So.
Okay. Well, we might know more tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, all I can say is I just want everyone to be healthy and to do the right thing, and really not downplay what a big deal all of this is. And
are you at all concerned about your are you at all concerned about your economic reality moving forward?
Of course. I'm more concerned about, I'm concerned about mine. I'm concerned about everyone I know. I do think that it's, if we don't see some kind of, kind of like rent protection and like, freeze on mortgage payments and that kind of thing over the next couple of months, like, of course, I don't know. It's hard to know how it's all going to shake down, but I have some hope that someone in charge is going to show some real leadership in terms of doing what is going to stem the spread of this while also making sure that people are taken care of.
Oh, it does seem almost inevitable that if this keeps going on, it would be insane not to sort of keep people in their houses, keep people fed, however that might have to take place.
Yeah, and I'm sure, it's, of course, I've seen a lot of people kind of point out that there are and have been other public health emergencies like the opioid epidemic and the lack of clean water in certain communities, and just the way that those things have been responded to isn't necessarily encouraging if you think about this. But this is so wide-reaching. It affects everybody. My hope is that this will sort of force people to see that a society needs to be a society, not a corporation, and people need to be taken care of. And that once this particular health crisis is in a more stable place and it's more under control, that we can sort of take the lessons from it and move forward with them and sort of see, I would love to see people really taking care of each other, the government really working to take care of the people, and then us kind of being like, now didn't that feel nice? And shouldn't we maybe take some of that and carry it forward through, as moving forward past this, that maybe we want to take care of each other better for the rest of the future as well, even when there isn't like a phenomenon like this going on. So
that would be
my hope.
that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, and I remember it in some ways it makes some kind of spooky sense when you sort of look at the fact that we haven't been taking climate change seriously, and like that the U.S. for some reason has wanted to stay one of the few developed nations that doesn't have public health care. It's like maybe this is the wake-up call that those things need for people to take those things seriously.
You were all about those silver linings today.
Well, it's either that or just become a puddle of grief. So.
Yeah, I guess going back to the whole social media persona thing we talked about before, I will admit I am posting mostly jokes publicly. Sort of, you gotta, you find the silver lining to prevent yourself from crying. I find the humor in situations. I've been doing that since I was a kid. But, privately with my friends, I'm admitting that I'm very uncomfortable, to say the least, about what's going on.
For sure.
And,
and I think, yeah.
One last silver lining. What do you think will come out of this for the alternate plans of the music world? Are we going to see a huge increase in songwriting time and recording time and lots of new albums coming out, like a baby boom from this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly looking at everyone that I know has their gigs canceled through March, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see that sort of stretch through April and May. And, you know, there's this part of me that, like, I think a lot of people, a lot of creative people, once we sort of make our passions into our livelihoods, there is this kind of sense of like, wow, I'm on the road all the time. I'm doing this. I'm doing all this work that, like, we kind of romanticize, like, wow, what if I could just, like, stay put for a couple of months and just, like, you know, like, practice guitar, or, like, do this, like, some really regimented songwriting practice and stuff like that. And I think I've talked to more than a few people that are starting to think along those lines. And so, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's cool that, you know, in 1918 during the Spanish flu, they didn't have FaceTime, so we can still, you know, in some ways we can still, like, have our friends over for dinner over Skype, and we can write songs, and we can still collaborate, and we can still be in touch, and that's a beautiful thing, and I want to remind myself to be grateful for that.
Yes, it's like your
yeah.
dream come true with the twist that there's no toilet paper.
Exactly. Yep. Well, the lucky thing is, if you're at home and you're out of toilet paper, you can always just jump in the shower. So.
Oh, and
yep.
that is an image I need to shift away from.
Fair enough.
Let's move to okay. Let's move to the silliest part of the interview, which I do this sometimes, which is when I take a song title and talk about something related to the title, but not necessarily related to the song. Let's go with
okay.
Everybody Used to Be a Baby. So
well, I don't know how we're gonna. Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot.
All right.
Do you have any stories about your comical behavior as a baby or young child?
I think. Let me think here. One that that my mom likes to tell at gatherings to embarrass me is, you know, when I was really small, I was very insistent that I wanted a sister, and you know, I think the story that I've been told is that my dad had always had it in mind that he wanted one kid, and my mom, you know, when I would complain to her, you know, I'd be like, I want a sister, and she would say, well, you know, your dad's pretty convinced that he only wants one kid, and I just was like, well, how does it work? Like, how do I get another sister, or how do I get a sister? I want to, you know, and so she sort of took that time to explain to me how babies are made, and I guess I only latched on to some of the information, and there was later on I'd been kind of mulling over, like, thinking about, like, okay, so I get this, like, people need to get together, and there's this thing that they need to do in order to make another child, and so so I guess, like, I had it in mind that I was just like, okay, well, I just need to find someone to do this with to make a sister for me. And so I was at some gathering of, I think, you know, I must have been like 5 or 6, or maybe younger. And, you know, it was like my parents and like a bunch of their friends. And I just picked out one of my mom's friends and, like, announced to her that, I don't know how, like, you know, completely innocently, not realizing exactly what
nice
it was that I was.
Slip there.
Yeah, exactly. But not realizing what it was that I was suggesting that we do. I think I said something along the lines of, like, well, when I get older, I'm gonna, you know, put my blah, 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 and and do this, blah, 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 and then make me a sister. I'll spare you I know that it got pretty graphic. I just sort of parroted the details that my mom had let me know.
Oh, no.
And yeah, but I don't remember this happening at all. But my mom loves to tell that whole story.
Oh, I'm sure if you're old enough to realize the full context of what's going on, you would never forget something like that.
Yeah. And hey, I'm happy to have provided some entertainment for whoever was present.
Yeah. And you can only get away with something like that when you're a little kid.
Absolutely.
So, to anyone older out there listening, don't try it.
Exactly. Yep.
I will share my baby story, which I guess is a big part of the reason why I chose this topic.
Okay.
When I was 2.5, and I know the exact age because it is when my younger brother, oh, by the way, did you ever get a sister?
Nope.
Nope, only child?
Yeah, I have some half brothers and step brothers, but never anything quite like a sister. But I have a lot of close female friends, so we can all sort of get those relationships in different ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was 2.5, my younger brother just coming home from the hospital, so he's in the crib for the first time in front of me, and I am so excited to have someone to play with.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I would discover in not so much time that he's not really good to play with yet. So, first of all, I try talking to him, and he doesn't talk back. So, I think, all right, let's start with the basics. So I go into the playroom, and there's a bunch of these foam puzzle pieces, each of them with a letter or a number inside. And I disconnect the foam letters and numbers, and I attempt to teach my maybe a week-old infant brother the alphabet by throwing these foam letters into the crib at him one at a time. This is an A, it's the first letter, and just plunk foam on the baby. So obviously it didn't hurt him too much, but he didn't seem too thrilled with it. And my parents weren't too thrilled with it either, but they yelled at me and said, you can't do that. He's just a baby. You can't play with him yet. And I was like, then I don't want him. And because my brother, at a week old, couldn't understand the alphabet being thrown at him, I asked my mother to return him to the hospital.
That's funny. All the things that we say when we don't know how anything works. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is. I might have understood the alphabet at that age, but I did not at all understand that once you had a baby, a hospital doesn't keep them if you don't want them. Although there are adoption services, but that was not how that was going to go. No.
Are you, I assume by this point you're glad that your brother wasn't returned.
Oh yeah, he, just give it a couple of years and he wound up being really great to play with.
That makes sense.
Now he is in fantastic shape. He's taller than me, and you can't play sports with him without getting your butt whooped. So
Yep. Awesome.
Maybe I'm a little back to wondering if I can't return. No, I'm kidding. So let's hear Everybody Wants to Be a Baby.
Everybody used to be a baby.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's a Freudian slip there. That's a Freudian. Oh, maybe. I don't want to be a baby, but I have been saying constantly these last few days how I wish everything was just a little less simple, or a little less crazy, a little more simple. And yeah, I think I even said how I envy my cat. He doesn't understand anything. He's just happy that people are here to play with him. So I maybe there's a part of me that wants to revert to childhood right now.
Very understandable.
Everybody used to be a baby. Thank you so much, Taylor. And if your mom's friend is listening, I'm sorry. And if my brother is listening, again, I'm sorry. But it makes for good radio, right?
Yep.
The new album is The Romantic, and the songs range from just wonderful displays of true love and affection to humorous takedowns on mentality during love, and there's everything in between. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for calling. Happy to talk about it.